Okay. Are you ready? Okay, so we're going to do this one. And so what I'm going to do is start out, I think I'm going to start out with some of the red brown. This one. You can't see the color so well on there. And I'm going to do just kind of a quick sketch of the fur in here. Let's see, I'll put some eyes in. And then this other eye. Okay. I'm not going to worry so much about the eyes as I am as showing you guys how to achieve the fur texture, okay? Next week or next class we'll talk about eyes. So I'm just going to start putting on like an undercoat of this light brown color. And I'm working from the right side over to, no, sorry, the left side over to the right side. The red brown. It looks different in the thing, huh? It looks darker. And I'm trying to keep my strokes, you notice like these strokes over here I have going in the direction that this fur is going in, and then over here this kind of goes this way. So I'm using my pencil strokes to kind of mimic the fur. Doesn't have to be exact, but the general shape of it. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with some of this light orange. I'm going to start doing a little bit of this eyebrow in here. And then there's some orange over here on this side of the hair, and so I'm going to bring that in. Okay, so I'm going to go in with some white now to tone down my orange. And no blending so far, I'm just putting color down because we need to have enough pigment on the paper before we start blending, right? Plush. All these crazy hairs this guy has. Now I'm going to take the dark brown and go bring in some of these darker tones that are over here on this side. And then around the eye as well. And just because I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put the eye in. And then some of these hairs up here have dark brown tips, so I'm gonna get that in there. I'm just putting like a little bit of the dark brown into like where it's going to be this really light area on the forehead, because down in the depths of the fur you can see a little bit of darkness, like you see some shadows or whatever, like it helps create that depth. And so we'll go over this dark brown that I'm putting in here. It'll be mostly blended out, but you'll be able to see a little bit of it in order to create that depth in the fur. Okay. I think I'm going to do a little bit of blending now. Plush. Now I'm going to take some black. I'm actually going to go in and define this eye because I can't help it. I have to draw the eye. And I'm going to use a little bit of black in here where it's a lot darker over on the left side. I'm going to put down some of this blue in the eye, the light blue, for the reflection. And then also over here in the corner of the eye, and then I'm going to go over that with white. We have an eyeball. Okay, so I'm really building out the area around the eye right now. I do just a little bit more blending, and then I'm probably going to put the final layer on in this spot. To give the eye a little bit more depth, I just added a little spot of orange in there. And then I'm going to go over it with the red brown. And then the dark brown. And I'm going to blend it together just a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to put in some sharp white strokes in here. I've got his eyelashes in. I'm going to put little specks, like little tiny lines of white and orange, the light orange in here, in this section right here, to look like the little hairs that you can see in there. I'm going to put some orange flecks in here. And so at this point, I'm not so much mixing colors around the eye as I'm putting in the hair strokes that I can see and the drawing, and finalizing everything in this section. I'm going to start building out from the eye. And just make sure you're looking back and forth from your drawing to your reference photo, like every couple of seconds. Go back and forth and make sure you're looking at that reference photo again and again and again. And so in order to get the white to stand out well enough, you need to build up the colors behind it. And so I put in some of these white strokes, like the big, like you see this hair right here and this one. I've put these in right here, but I'm going back behind them and adding in darker areas around the white so that it contrasts and it really helps that white show up. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to see the white if it's the same value as the other colors around it. I'm going to do a little bit of blending over here. Just a little bit, because I don't want to lose all of my hair strokes, the hair texture I've been building up, but I do want to soften some of the lines in there. I should do that. So you guys can see what I'm doing. I've cut off the wood around the barrel of my pencil, and I'm just twisting it back and forth like this while I'm rubbing it on the sandpaper, and that helps bring it to a nice point. See that point? And that means that I can make really precise pencil strokes that way. Okay. I'm just going back in now, making some minor adjustments around these white hairs that I put in to help them stand out, just adding in some more contrast with the dark brown to really help them pop out. And so now I'm moving over to the middle section because I'm pretty happy with how this is looking right over here. So I'm going to start working here in the middle section. I'm going to let it build up pretty dark and then blend it out, and then I'll come in with some white over the top. And I'm going to come back in with my white over here. And you just really want to make sure that you're trying to capture the texture of the fur with your pencil strokes as you're drawing it. You don't need to draw every single hair. You can draw them in clumps, draw shapes of hair. But with some of these like white ones that are really kind of crazy, that'll be its own distinct shape. Like right here, this is a shape, this is a shape. This is all kind of a textury shape, you know, like it doesn't have to look exactly like this, but this waviness, you want to get that in there. I'm actually going to put a little light blue in here as well. Believe it or not, I think it needs it. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. And then some black over that. And I'm going to use this to make a, and I'm going to add white into it, and I'm going to make a cool light gray. But you can see like this almost looks a little bit blue compared to all of the, if you look on your photo, compared to the warm colors around it, it gets kind of cool temperature, you know, a cool tone in the center there. I'm using a pretty light touch with my black because I don't want this to get too dark. Okay, I'm going to do some blending. I don't want to push too hard with my blending stump. I'm using a really light touch. I want to keep a lot of the definition of the fur that I'm building up. I want to keep that, but I want to mix the colors. And I don't want to push, I don't want to blend so hard that I'm pushing my powder off of the paper. Now remember, to get those white hairs to stand out, you actually need to go fairly dark with the hair underneath it so that the white hairs pop out. Let's see, I think I'm gonna draw, I'll switch over to this side and let's see, which other fur texture do you guys think you're gonna struggle with? The Sheltie? The collie, okay. We can do that. Yeah, that one's beautiful. That one's gonna be fun to draw. And that one has a couple different textures in it, so that's nice. You have, like on the pitty up here, that's a really smooth fur, but on the collie, it's more like a plush, you know, and then you have the long fur over there. So I think that's a good one to choose. Okay, so I've got kind of a rough sketch in there. So I think it's a no-brainer. I'm going to start with the orange. I'm just going to put a light layer of orange in. And I'm keeping my pencil strokes similar to, you know, in the same direction that the fur is going in, but I'm not making my pencil strokes particularly short or anything like that. I'm just getting a layer of color down. So I've got, I don't want to come in with the white yet. I think I'm going to come in with the dark brown. And just do the same thing. I want to build up to this color. I'm trying to create a field of this color. Oops. I'm trying to get this on the overhead and on my camera recording. So this looks kind of crazy to put this dark brown over the orange, but I'm gonna blend it, and what I'm looking to do is tone down how orange it is and get this kind of muted orange, right? And so I'm going to use the dark brown and the white to do that. Okay, so I have the orange, the dark brown, and the white on there right now, and I'm going to go and start blending and we'll see what we come up with. And that's not too far off. Look at that. See this where it's blended out right there? I got it pretty close. It's magic. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how that came out. Let's see. I think I'm gonna start, before I start adding in definition around the face, I'm gonna go in with some of these longer hairs up on the top of the head. I'm using the dark brown. I'm starting to find some errors in my drawing, in my initial sketch. Oh well. Okay, I'm going to just kind of put this eye in here real quick. I'm going to build up some of these longer hairs some more. Now I'm going in with the light brown, the reddish brown. And it's funny how it, like, you know, as you're building it up, it looks like a little kid's drawing, right? Like, I mean, it just looks ridiculous right now, but that just means you're not done. You keep building layers. I'm going to add some orange in here. Yeah, my ear is definitely not high enough. So let's fix that. Okay, so I'm going to blend the mane out and see where I end up. Okay, I'm going to come down here to the nose. I'm going to use a little bit of that light blue again to put underneath my white to help it stand out.
That's the aqua?
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny when you got the pencil on to make the thing, it looks purple.
Oh, oh, it does.
A pretty purple too.
It is a pretty purple.
I'm going to use this light blue pencil to help build in some of the definition on the collie's face. Just really lightly, use a really light touch with it. And put a little bit of black here on these gray spots on the nose. And then some white over that. I'm going to use some of the dark brown over where I've put the blue and some white and the white down around the face, not around the nose part, but just kind of defining the bone structure. And I'm going to go in and blend stuff. Stop, pencils. Stop. And so what darkening this section over here does, like darkening the value up a little bit, it makes it clear that the bridge of the nose is coming forward and then the sides is going down on the sides, okay? So it helps bring out that long nose that collies have because it's showing how like the light is interacting with the dog's head. So like in my drawing fundamentals class, we talk about like with a sphere, how the light hits the sphere and it goes around the form. So that's what is happening here, and that's why you want it darker around the eyes. Well, around this eye over on the left, the light's coming in from the right, so the right side eye is lit up a little bit better, but over here it's going to be more in shadow. Okay, so that's why we're adding in those darker tones over there. But I got it a little too dark over in the center, and so I'm going to bring that back up lighter so that bridge of the nose stands out nicely. Right now it looks like my dog's missing an eyeball because it's too far over. What are you going to do? There really should be. I got to put it in. It's going to bug me if I don't. Get a suggestion of an eye in there. So I'm just working on defining some of the bone structure on the dog's face a little bit better. Really looking for the areas that are lighter, the areas that are darker, and making sure that I've got those done correctly so that the face reads three-dimensional. And if you're not sure if you have your values, how light or dark it is, if you're not sure if you're on the right track, try squinting at your reference photo and squinting at your drawing. And squinting simplifies it, takes away all the detail, so that you just see the basic shapes, and you'll be able to tell if they're of similar value or not. Okay, my nose is looking pretty blue right now. So, or the muzzle, the top of the muzzle. So I want to go in and draw the nose, which will help me it will help make the muzzle look more white. It'll add some contrast in here. I'm using the dark blue right now to put in the main part of the nose, and then I'll put the nostrils in with black and probably some dark blue over the top of it, because I never like to use just straight black. So I'm going to blend this out and see how it looks. So it's way too blue, so I'm going to put some black over the top of the blue, just a real light layer, and then probably a little bit of white, because I want it lighter than the nostrils. We really want the nose to like pop out and look like it's coming forward at you. And the way you do that is through value, how light or dark it is. And you can see how getting that nose in there is already helping what looked so blue and yucky on the muzzle. It's helping it read more as white now. Okay. I'm gonna redefine these nostrils. Get some black back here where it's a little darker. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how my nose is looking. I'm going to go in, sharpen my white, and then I'll go in and add some highlights onto it and add the snow in. I'm also going to put some white hairs in on the muzzle to help bring it up just a little bit wider. So I'm putting in some white, a light layer of white, where I can see it's a little bit lighter on the nostril or around the nose. And then I'll blend it out so it doesn't stand out quite so much, and just kind of helps give that, make it look like, you know, you could reach out and touch the nose. You can see the texture of it, and all that's done through value. Okay, let's see if I can get this snow in here nice and white. Look at that. So if I were drawing this as like a portrait of a dog, unless you could see the snow in the background, I would not put this white stuff on its nose, because like right now you're looking at it going, what is that? You know, like what's that on its nose? It looks weird. So unless there's a reason, like you have more information in the drawing that's, you know, going to show that it's obviously snow on the dog's nose, I would make the decision to leave that out. And I'm going to go back in with my black and kind of just define the snow just a little bit. And put a highlight in here. Okay. So there's that. Okay, so I'm going to start out with some of the red brown, the light brown, and I've got a halfway decent tip on there. And I'm going to start just doing some really small, subtle hairs on the side of the muzzle. As you can see over here, that there's some hairs in there on your photo if you can't see it on the overhead. And just really lightly, because I want this pretty subtle, because I'm probably not going to do a lot more blending over on this side. Maybe a little bit of blending, but not much. So I want these to show up, but not to like jump out and get in your face. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing with the dark brown. So I'm barely touching the tip of my pencil to the paper, just enough to leave a tiny little mark. Okay, and I'm going to clean off my blending stump so that I don't get it, I don't make those colors darker when I go to softly blend them. And I'm using my blending stump to go in the direction of the fur as well. And can you guys see that, how the texture is there, but it's like soft? You know, the pencil strokes aren't like really obvious, but there's still some texture there. All right, now it's starting to behave for me a little better. It's starting to come together. Just some really soft blending here.